Okay, we're going to do our next set of problems. Next set looks just like this. So we're going to start on number 5 on this one. And we're going to square root each side. So square root here, square root here. Notice it says solve by taking the square roots. So this is not too bad. In order to get rid of the squared, you got to square root it, and it turns into r. Oh, weird r. Okay, equals, because the squared went away since you square rooted it. And if you square root 49, it turns into 7. But wait a second, pause, freeze, hold on a second. Remember that what we have to do is we have to include a plus or minus on that in our final answer, because remember that negative 7 squared also could equal 49, because what's the square root of a negative? It turns into a 49 also. Okay, so yeah, I mean, negative times negative is a positive. Next question. Let's look at this one. Okay, this one's a little bit different because you got to solve first. So you go minus 1, both sides. These cross out. And so you end up with p squared equals 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay, we do the same thing as the last one where we take the square root, and the square root of this turns into p equals. And what is the square root of 0? Just 0. So our answer on this one is only one answer. We don't have to put plus or minus on it. It's just 0. Okay, next one. Oh, let's skip. Let's go to, say, like this one right here. Okay, a little bit trickier one because you're going to go minus 5, minus 5. These cross out. You get 16x squared equals 14 minus 5, which is 9. You're going to divide by 16. Divide by 16. These cross out. You end up with x squared equals 9 over 16. Would turn into some sort of decimal, but you could keep it as a fraction actually, 9 over 16, and then take the square root of both sides if you wanted to keep it as a fraction. Otherwise, just leave it in your calculator as a decimal and divide it out. Okay, so this will equal x equals square root of each of these. Remember, that's the same as taking the square root of the top separately from the square root of the bottom. And square root of 9 is 3, and square root of 16 is 4. So if you did it as a decimal, you would have gotten 0.75. If you kept it as a fraction, you'd get 3/4. But wait a second, what do we still need? If I take the square root of a number, any number, I have to go plus or minus on it when I'm solving these quadratic equations, because it could include either of those as a possible answer. Okay, next, when you see one that looks like this, you're going to use the zero product rule. And remember, the zero product rule allows us to take this and separate it over here and then go like this: k plus 1 equals 0. So the product is happening right here. What you can do is take each of the individual pieces and set the individual piece equal to 0. So this one over here also, k minus 3 equals 0. Okay, so you're going to solve each of these individually. So minus 1 each side, these cross out, you get k equals negative 1. And then over here you go plus 3. Do the opposites in order to undo it on this side to move it over to the other side, and you get k equals 3. Okay, so we get one answer, two answers, and you could write an or between them. Okay, two answers on that. This is solving each equation by factoring, but this one was already factored for you. So on the next one, we'll skip to this one here, number 10. And you're going to factor it up first. So that means put it in a binomial times a binomial. And it must equal 0 on this side. Okay, so first things first, go x times x is x squared. And then you're going to go ahead and break this piece up right here, this 15. And you want two numbers that multiply to give you that. And then you want two numbers the same two numbers that multiply to give you that will add together to give you this one. Okay, so 15, let's see, we've got 1 times 15. Ooh, they don't add to 8. 2 times, no, that doesn't work. How about 3 times 3 times 5. Do those add up to 8? 3 times 5 is 15. Do they also add to 8? And it's positive and positive, so this will be plus and this will be plus. And it doesn't matter whether I put the 3 here or the 5 here because they're the same in both spots. There's no subtraction. It's just positive and positive. So 3 plus 5 is 8. 3 times 5 is 15. So it adds up. Think about the reverse of this. The reverse is to go and FOIL it back out and then rewrite everything down and think about, does it check out? Does it give you back the original if you FOIL it? Okay, then we're not done yet. This is solve each equation by factoring. So we did the factoring part. Now we need to go ahead and go solve it. So we break it up into two pieces, right, like this. X plus 3 equals 0. This is the zero product rule that allows us to break it up into two pieces. Okay, then you're going to solve for x in each of these. Minus 3 here, minus 3 over here. Okay, then I cross these out and you get x equals negative 3. Okay, then over here you're going to get minus 5, put a line under, cross it out. We get x equals negative 5 over here. So you could say my final answer is x equals negative 5 or x equals negative 3. And you could write an or between them. All right. Okay, next. How about we skip to one that's a little trickier? Oh, how about this one? Number 11. Let's go to number 11 next. Okay. You factor it up, equals 0. Okay, so then what you have to do is you have to find two things that multiply to give you a negative 10. So that could be 1 times negative 10. It could be negative 10 times 1. It could be 2 times negative 5 or 5 times negative 2. Those are kind of all of our options. So what we also want is this is multiply, and then you want two things that add to give you this. But wait, we're adding a negative. So if we're really adding a negative, since it'd be these two and we'd be adding them together and we'd be adding a negative, what we're really doing is subtracting. So if I said, do I want 5 minus 2 in order to get 3, or do I want negative 2 plus 5? This gives me negative 3. This gives me positive 3. So I want positive 3. I want this combo right here. So that means positive 5, negative 2. So I'm going to write it right like this. A plus 5 and A minus 2. Okay, once I get that far, remember what I'm going to do is break it up into its two pieces. A plus 5 and set it equal to 0. A minus 2 and set it equal to 0. Now I'm going to solve each of these individual pieces, and it's really just the opposite of this. So A equals negative 5 or A equals 2. Those are my answers. Okay, next. Last one that we're going to do here is using the quadratic formula. Okay, when we go to use the quadratic formula, actually, let's do this in the next video. We'll use quadratic formula in the next video.